our middle name.
You should say that.
It's in here somewhere.
I know, but we got to kind of open with that. All right.
So maybe you purposefully stumble and he says community. It's our
Yeah,
middle
just
name.
cut me off if you wouldn't say that.
First
Okay.
Federal,
All right. Are we ready?
We've been ready. We're getting all the goods right now.
I'm talking to Doug. I just have to be looking at you. All right.
Push the button, Doug.
All right, ready?
Push it.
Wait, do you have Facebook? Okay.
Yes!
Oh, sorry.
That's what I was saying.
Oh, I'm sorry that you did
You
your
just
job for once this
disregard.
week. Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Prime Properties. I'm Michael Morris. Sitting in with me, Stacy Plybon. Stacy, how are you?
I'm fantastic, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Stacy, last week I did not. What was that?
I was singing.
Last week I didn't even let you say who you're with. I just assumed that people would know, but you are with.
You think I'm so famous? Thanks, Michael.
Yeah.
I'm with Emerge Real Estate Crossroads, also Central Ohio Homes and Lifestyle. That's my gig.
That-
Central Ohio.
That title is getting longer every single week.
Central Ohio Homes and Lifestyle. It's my baby. It's everything that my blood, sweat, and tears. I love it. I love it so much. It means a lot to me.
Great. Well, let's introduce somebody with a smaller title, a good friend of ours, Tim Adams from First Federal Community Bank. Tim, how are you?
I'm great, Michael. Thanks for having me.
Do you want to go ahead and throw in the little key, First Federal Community Bank?
Community is our middle name.
There you go.
Boom.
Everybody's got to have a tagline, and that's his. And his was shorter than yours. We brought Tim back because, as I said before, we could not get all this in 30 minutes. So, round 2. Are you up for this, Tim?
Round 2.
Ding, ding, ding.
So, again, in case somebody hasn't heard this before, First Federal Community Bank.
Yeah,
Give them a little spiel.
First Federal Community Bank. My name is Tim Adams. Phone number is 614-657-7358. My NMLS number is 438939, and we are an equal housing lender.
Now, last week we talked about the home buying process and not the home piece of it, but the lending, the finance side of it, and how you are going to be there throughout this transaction. And we kind of went over the important things about credit score, went over interest rates, but I wanted to continue on that path, and I wanted to get into the process and what people actually need. Because I think a lot of people get confused because if you watch TV, very simple. All you
Right.
need is this app or go to this website and it's done.
Sure.
But what do people really need to be prepped for when they're going through this?
Well, I think the most important thing you need prior to going to look at a house is a pre-approval letter.
Yes.
And in order to get the pre-approval letter, it's good to reach out to someone like myself or a loan officer that can review your credit, put together some income documents to maybe go over with them, or at least know what your income is, and go through the process of getting pre-approved. Most of the time, it can take 15 to 20 minutes.
Mhm.
Maybe a little more in-depth pre-approvals take 30 or 45 minutes, but it's not really a long process to determine whether or not, you're pre-approved.
Yeah, they just need to have certain documents. Very basic. It sounds basic to me, but basically it's along the lines of their pay stubs,
Yeah.
bank statements.
Correct, and maybe W-2s, do your 2 years W-2s. If you're self-employed, maybe 2 years of tax returns, because when you're self-employed, that kind of changes things a little bit.
Yes.
But most of the time, you can get this taken care of within, like I said, 15, 20 minutes.
That's an interesting point about people that are self-employed, the 1099 crowd. They get treated the same. It's just the documentation might be a little bit more. I only
Correct.
know that because I'm Mr. 1099. That's
Right.
what I do. But at times it's harder for people to figure out. Like they'll put off buying a house because they're like, well, I have my own company, but some years are better, some are worse. But you can still work with them because it's really about a budget and planning forward, right?
Correct. There's a lot of programs out there for self-employed borrowers that tend to work just as well as if you were a pay stub or a W-2 type borrower. It really just boils down to income and debt ratio, and do you qualify?
Mhm.
So based on the income and your debt ratio is what's going to determine whether or not you qualify.
You know why I wish we could have had him a few weeks ago? Remember we talked about the 7th leading
Yeah.
funding of buying a house?
Mom and dad.
This is not a trick. Yeah, mom and dad are the 7th leading lender of money to buy
That's
a
a
house.
great point. I like that.
But have you seen that where I can't remember who we were talking to about that. Someone was on the show with us, I think, and we were talking about it, that the parents were not really doing all the paperwork, but they were there like, here's the check to get this started. Are you seeing that?
It is being done, yes, and it's not uncommon to have a parent as a cosigner.
At what? I mean, are you seeing it at all ages? Are you seeing it at 22 or 27? Because I could
Well-
understand it if we went back and looked at, 1960, 1970, when the things were different. So
Sure.
you might have had a cosigner, but it seemed like they were being gifted the money. Now it's to the level where that's one of the main sources of lending is I'm getting it from a family member versus a bank, but I still have to go to the bank to do the paperwork.
Sure. Yeah, we do see that, and it's not uncommon to have a parent be a cosigner on someone's first time home, first time buyer application. Someone maybe just out of college or someone just starting their career, to have that kind of a joint application that comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it also goes to some of the, and again, I'm sure you're an avid listener to this show, but we've talked about, the percentage of housing versus apartments that have happened in Columbus. There are a lot of people that are probably getting to a house later in life than they used to, maybe 20 years ago, because apartments are all over the place. So people are thinking, I can't buy a home now, but I'm going to pay what I would pay for a mortgage to be in an apartment. In an affluent area where there's shops and things to do, that might also be what trickles down to this parents giving money to help support the house.
Yeah, maybe just to establish some roots, to help
Right.
them start to establish some roots. Yeah, that could be part
I
of
just
it.
didn't know if you saw that because this was a national trade article we were reading about, and I thought that is a lot of money.
Yeah.
Change in hands, but it's got to help you in your business
It
when you know
certainly is.
the money is there and it's secure and they're going to be able to put it down.
Yep.
Absolutely.
In that situation, whose credit do you pull? You still pull the person that's going to buy the home, right?
Absolutely, both.
All right. That was more of just a question I had. That's
Yeah.
not actually in any of the notes. I just thought we didn't discuss that. Like, whose credit are you actually using?
Right.
That's
Mhm.
interesting.
Michael, are you wanting to apply for a loan?
I mean,
You
I
got
might.
something in
While
mind?
we're doing the show, I'm
If
thinking
any
about it.
parent would buy their child a house, it would be Michael Morris.
Oh, I would buy my kid a house right now.
I know you
She's
would.
11 years. Can I get her approved? No, she's 12 now. She can
Well,
get
she
approved.
just had a
It's
birthday.
not going to work.
Listen, I'll put a lot of money down on this.
He's probably going to use her social anyway.
Yeah, she's probably got a better credit
She's
score.
probably got a better
Oh,
score.
Um,
It's awful.
well, we talked about the self-employed.
I would like to know,
Oh.
if I can, if
Sure.
you don't mind.
This is your show too.
I would actually like to know about the different products that you have. That was one of the things for me personally when I started working with you that I enjoyed so much.
Right.
Is of course you have your basic FHA, USDA, VA, conventional loans that everybody knows about, but you have some other products that I think are very important for people to know that First Federal Community Bank, Tim Adams, has, that the major banks are just, they cannot offer it. It's
Yep.
not an option for them, but you have that as an option.
Yeah,
so.
that's true. The conventional VA, USDA, FHA loans that everyone has, the secret about First Federal Community Bank is that we have a portfolio product
Yeah,
that
Love
some
it.
banks have, but not all.
right.
And the reason I love this bank so much is that we do have a specialized mortgage product or list of products that specialize in certain situations.
Yeah.
You might have a homeowner who has equity in their current home that may want to sell the house and buy a new house, but the house that they want to buy is listed right now.
Yeah.
And they feel like they're going to miss that house because they still have not put a for sale sign in their yard yet.
Yes.
That's not necessarily true.
Yeah.
The equity in their current house can act as their down payment on the new house right now.
Right, and that's important for me as a real estate agent because now we're getting into home sale contingencies.
Right.
And nobody likes them. Sellers do not like to see a buyer offer with home sale contingency on it. Very rarely do they like to see that. Maybe it might coincide with their timeline of need, but typically contingencies, we don't want that. We want a nice clean offer. We want the seller to know that we can buy it within the typical 30-day, preferably 20 days, but
Yep.
yeah, the typical 30-day, 45-day timeline. So the bridge loans that you guys offer, but you have more freedom with the bridge loan because of your portfolio access, right? Basically, that board of trustees,
Our loan committee,
the loan committee.
the loan
It's
committee.
the same
Yes.
thing. It just sounds a lot more
Loan
like
committee, I like it.
hometown.
Yeah.
The loan committee.
The
It
loan-
is, and it is a small town. It will go back to the handshake scenario when it comes to the bridge loan and the portfolio lending. Is that, you know what? We're not just looking at the guidelines.
Right.
We're looking at the entire picture. You know,
Yeah.
what does the customer bring to the table, both good and bad?
Sure.
Even though those may not be part of the regular guidelines for, say, conventional lending, what else do they bring to the table?
Yeah.
Well, we've got equity.
Yeah.
And the home that they're gonna list for sale more than likely sells within 90 days, once they put a sign in the yard.
Right.
And like, that was a great point about the contingent offer. Most sellers don't wanna see the contingent offer.
No.
Whereas a bridge loan, it offers you that pre-approval letter, not contingent on the
Yeah.
sale of a home.
Exactly. Which is the whole point of purchasing a home, is so you have that equity.
Yep.
And you have that security in the home. You have to be able to utilize that to better your
Yep.
situation. That's
This
the whole
is-
point.
That's a great point. This is the prime season now where everyone starts to see the houses go up for sale.
Right.
And they're thinking school districts and they wanna move or
Yes.
whatever it may be. And they still don't know that, you know what, you don't have to lose that house that's on the market because,
Yeah.
you know, you haven't sold your house. You can still buy the house right
Yeah.
now and then worry about selling later.
Right, and that's fantastic. You go to a typical bank and they're going to say, sorry, you don't qualify to hold this mortgage
Sure.
and a second mortgage. You know, because now we're talking $500,000 and
On two mortgage
and
payments.
two mortgage payments.
Yeah.
But by utilizing, you know, Tim Adams at First Federal Community Bank,
Just to
Um,
name a few.
just to name a few, you have that ability to bring all your cards to the table. Here's what I got. I got this in my bank account. I got this on my weekly pay stubs and my tax returns. Oh yeah, I've got $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 worth of equity on my home too. Oh wow. That starts opening up doors that other banks cannot open up for somebody, and definitely being able to put that offer in, not contingent on your home selling, is huge.
Yep.
And you're saying that, hey, as long as your house closes within 90 days,
Not even that, it's just as
Yeah.
long as we've got a good feel that the property is gonna be listed.
sure,
Obviously, the goal is not to hold on to the house, and we understand that.
yeah,
So yeah, we hope to see that house, you know, gets listed and gets sold so that, you know, you can, as a customer, can move on,
yeah.
you know?
And that's I love that. I love that so much. And like you said, people are going to, the school year's ending.
Yep.
We're starting this spring, you know, hubbubaloo. Is that what they call it?
There you go.
I believe it's hullabaloo. But
Hubba?
I like the way you said
Hubba.
it.
I like
I'm
hubba.
gonna get T-shirts made. Hullabaloo.
Hubbubaloo. But we do. We're starting this big season, and for somebody to, I hope people hear that and understand how great that information is,
Yeah.
and you can help them with
We
that,
do-
because that's huge.
We do a lot of bridge loans.
Yeah.
We really do, and they are user-friendly.
Yeah, don't lose that house this spring, guys. Hit up Tim; he'll take care of you.
Well, the other part of what you said is when you said feel, like you have a feel for what's happening versus the larger banks. When you're saying that that's a transactional piece of business,
Mhm.
dealing with I don't want to say a small bank, but let's say local or community bank.
Sure.
You've seen these transactions before, and you get to know the people in it. Like you
Yeah.
said, this is a handshake business. That's part of what you're going through. So you can work with them as long as they're working with you, right? It's
As
not
long as they work
just a
with
piece
us.
of paper. And I
Yeah.
wanted to touch on that because I thought that was important. Is you can see, I don't want to name any banks, but when you see them on TV or hear it on the radio, it is literally about the transaction. Whereas your foundation is built on building that community.
Yeah. Building the community, but also offering options, because not everybody is that round peg fitting in the hole. Not everybody has that cookie cutter need. Everybody has different needs, but also, as he said perfectly, is they have everything. They have other things to bring to the table than just those pay stubs and tax returns. They literally have equity for the bridge anyway. They have equity in their home. Portfolio lending is also another great way for self-employed folks
Absolutely.
to get lending as well. So just having that loan committee to make smart decisions with all of the information that you're only going to get sitting in front of somebody who's going to ask you questions, who's going to ask you to explain more or go into greater detail on this, that, and the other, what's going to happen. No, you can't get that on the online application. I promise you can't.
A lot of times the details that come out and that conversation will make or break the loan,
It sure will.
you know.
And be open and honest. Who
Yeah,
cares?
yeah,
You've
be honest.
seen the worst and
Yeah.
you've seen the best. So, no
And
judgment.
yeah.
Judgment-free zone.
Absolutely. I've said it before, guys. We like to say that we don't say no. That we might say not now,
Yeah.
but we will then take all the details and documents and conversations and put together a plan so that we can say yes. So it is a process. So yeah,
Well, in
portfolio
20
lending
years of
is-
doing this, you've had to see this industry change to the point where I would think it would be surprising for people to know, a consumer, that they can actually still sit down with somebody.
Yeah.
Not that they have to make this appointment and wait in line. I mean, I've seen people do that. I'm
Yeah.
waiting to speak to a certain person in my meetings at 1:30, and it's 2:15. It's different because you're being treated like you said, another peg.
Mhm.
It's got to be nice that people have that option, and they may not even know you can still do it that way.
Right.
To be with one person, ask your questions, be open and honest, and figure out a plan. I think most people now think I have to have it figured out before I get there.
Yeah. No. Yeah. They're not the professionals. See, you don't have to be an expert because you have an expert that you can sit down with and conversate about. Same with real estate. We all have these preconceived notions off of topics that we aren't experts and professionals in, and you don't have to know everything about everything. That's something that a lot of people I think get caught up in as well. Is the he said she said, or maybe the embarrassment. I know about it.
Well, the
and-
website world, I think, has made us all experts to the point where we
Yeah.
think there's a resource out there. It's almost like reading the phone book. I know somebody's phone number. I'm not sure what they're about. Same thing when you're looking at a website. I can't get all the information, retain it, because I don't spend time doing it every single day.
Yeah.
But somebody like Tim can give you all the different options that apply to you. You might have 5 different options
That's right.
through First
Yeah.
Community, whereas you don't even know until you go in and have that conversation.
Right.
100% correct. I agree with that exactly. And then I also wanted you to talk because we've talked about new home builds. The pressure's on builders right now, and there's not a lot available. Homeowners aren't putting their homes up for sale as much as we would love them to because there's buyers everywhere. But building a new home is a lot of people's only options,
Mhm.
really.
Sure.
And there's the pressure's on the new home builders, and they're rising to the occasion. So they are making new homes available, and they've purchased the land, and they're starting to do the groundwork, literally, and get it together. So what say you on construction loans? How do you help people who want to build a new house?
Sure, it's an option with us. In our portfolio lending, we do offer both lot loans, land loans, whatever you want to call them. You see the perfect land that you want to buy, we can help you with that. And as well as construction loans from the ground up.
Yeah.
It is popular, and that's maybe the inventory out there of existing homes for sale is down a little bit, and you've got more buyers than sellers, whereas a couple years ago you had more sellers than buyers.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's an ever never-ending roller coaster in that aspect. But some people do turn to just let's build a house.
Yeah.
And how do we build a house? And some of your builders out there offer the financing. Some of your builders out there, maybe even your custom home builders, have a bank in mind. We also offer that. And what you run into, what I've seen in the difference between us and the other lenders with the construction loans, we offer the builder a draw schedule that they design.
Oh.
And what that means in short is we will let the builder dictate how much do you need, when do you need it, and just put it on a schedule, and
And
let's
that's-
all sign it.
Is that for all builders?
Pretty
Not
much.
just your major builders?
No.
Is that for your smaller?
We-
Maybe they build
again, we
5-6 houses a year.
Yeah, we go back to that handshake. Let's do
Okay.
it. It's got to make sense, and we are a true make sense type of lender.
Yeah.
Common sense tries to prevail in our world, and,
Mhm.
and not so much in some other situations. But we will let the builder design their draw schedule. Other lenders will tell the builder, you know what, you don't get anything up front to start
Right.
the project. You're going to use your own funds,
Yeah.
and then once you have 10 or 20% completed, we'll reimburse you.
Mm.
Well, that works for some builders.
Yeah. Not the
Others-
smaller builders.
Not the smaller guys, the guys
They
that
can't-
do custom homes.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll give them the 20% up front to get started. So yeah, that kind of separates us from some of the other lenders with our portfolio, with
Now,
our draw schedule.
Can I put you on the spot for your land loan?
Uh-oh.
What is the percentage on your land loans that
That's a great question.
Okay.
You know what? I would love to tell you that across the board, it's 20% down or 25% down. Typically 25. You
Okay.
know? You don't want to be in that situation where, and land is, I mean, when you hear 25% down, you might start thinking a big number, but when you think of the cost of land,
Yeah.
25% down is not necessarily a big number.
Yeah.
But we can, again, portfolio, we can make exceptions. We
Okay.
can look at the whole picture just to see who's going to need to put down what.
Okay.
You know, so
Very good.
20 to 25. Some banks out there want 30.
Yeah.
You know, so and then one more thing to keep in mind on that point: the money that you put down on your land counts towards the money that you put down on your construction loan.
Oh,
So you don't end up with two loans.
very interesting.
You say
I like that.
you buy the land. You now have your specs and blueprints ready to go. You've got a final cost.
Yeah.
You take out a construction loan. And that's where we help you pay off the land loan.
Yeah.
Now you have one loan. Interest only payments. Interest only
Oh.
during construction. So it's a small payment
Yeah.
that graduates a little higher as the house is more complete.
Sure. Wow.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I learned something new today, folks. And I like that. That's very good. I'm glad we talked about that. That's very cool. So,
Well, Stacey, I know you want to talk about if you find a home that you really love and the renovations part of it, because we've discussed that many times, but not how to do the financing part of it.
I think it's fantastic because a lot of people know the 203K, and Tim cringes at a 203K
I can tell
because
he's taking a dip sip of water right now.
he's ready to go in. But
Good stuff.
he, very quickly, Tim, please talk about how you handle renovations on the lending side as opposed to that 203K aspect.
Well, we have a renovation loan on our portfolio options that the options are endless. You know,
Fantastic.
we've had buyers come to us that love a house. The husband just hates the kitchen, or the wife hates the kitchen, or whatever
Yeah.
it may be. Where we'll say, okay, well, let's buy it. Let's escrow some renovation money back for you to do some repairs, and let's give it a subject to value, and let's get the loan started.
That's fantastic because 203K has so much. That's an FHA product. So many guidelines.
You should
So
see his
many
face.
hoops.
I wish people could see his face.
He gets it, and that's my favorite thing about him. But really, so much less of a headache
Yep.
for somebody to utilize this loan as opposed to the more standard go-to for lenders of 203K, 203K.
And I'll be honest with you, the 203K loan, it serves a purpose.
It
and
sure
that-
does.
It certainly helps home buyers out. And some home buyers that utilizing a 203K loan may not qualify for a portfolio renovation loan.
Okay.
Okay, let's just put that out there and say, okay, we'll look at all your options. And then bottom line is what's the best move for the buyer?
Yeah.
What's going to be in their best interest?
Sure.
My job that I feel after 20-some years at this point still is what's in your best interest. I'm supposed to give you the pros and the cons and then let you make an educated decision.
Yeah. Fantastic. I love it.
You're not going to believe this, but we've run short on time again. This guy could do show after show.
There's so much to it.
But
I
2
know.
shows in a row. We're going to have to give him a break. But, Tim, if someone wants to get a hold of you, tell them again how they can reach you.
Sure. It's Tim Adams at First Federal Community Bank, and community is our middle name. I know you like that, Mike.
Oh, I love
I love it.
the tag,
It's
the
a
little
good-
sting.
yeah.
It's
Is our
fantastic.
middle name. And my phone number is 614-657-7358. My email address is tadams@ffcb.com.
Perfect. Stacey, you have anything you want to wrap up for this week?
Yeah, I just want to say thanks so much, Tim. Thanks, Michael. And please go to centralohiohomesandlifestyle.com
I knew you were going to put that in. I knew
or
it.
like us on Facebook.
There you go. That's all we have, Tim. I want to thank you. This has been great, the past 2 shows, and we will have you back on whether you want to be or not. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. You've been listening to Prime Properties, and we will see you next week.